You have been lied to about letting go, told it is defeat, surrender, failure, told that holding on is strength, that persistence is virtue, that the one who never releases their grip is the one who truly loves. But what if I told you that your desperate clinging is not love at all, but terror? What if your refusal to let go is not commitment, but cowardice? Look at your hands. See how they cramp from gripping what no longer serves you. Feel the ache in your chest from trying to breathe life into what has already died. You call this loyalty. You call this dedication. But the truth cuts deeper than your comfortable lies. You are not holding on to what you love. You are holding on to who you think you are. The person who cannot let go is not strong. They are drowning, and they mistake their thrashing for swimming. They are the child who screams when the wave takes their sandcastle, not understanding that the ocean has already given them infinite sand for building anew. But here's what they never told you. Every moment you spend clinging to what was, you are murdering what could be. Every breath you waste on resurrecting the dead, you steal from the living possibility that stands before you, waiting to be born. Your grip is not preserving anything. It is strangling the very life you claim to protect. The relationship you refuse to let transform becomes a corpse you drag through your days. The dream you won't allow to evolve becomes a weight that pulls you into the depths of your own stagnation. The version of yourself you insist on preserving becomes the prison that keeps your soul from breathing. This is the first truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about love, about strength, about what it means to be human. Your attachment is not devotion. It is fear wearing the mask of virtue. From your first breath, they taught you that loss is the enemy, that good people fight for what they have, that winners never quit and quitters never win. They filled your small hands with toys and told you to never let anyone take them away. They filled your small heart with love and told you to never let it go. Your parents, terrified of their own impermanence, taught you to build walls around everything precious. Your teachers, drowning in their own attachments, showed you how to cage your dreams and call it ambition. Society, desperate to maintain its illusions of control, convinced you that letting go was giving up, that release was betrayal, that acceptance was weakness. So you learned to cling to relationships that had run their course like rivers that had reached the sea, to dreams that no longer fit your soul like clothes you had outgrown, to versions of yourself that you had already shed like snakeskins you refused to abandon. You learned that release was betrayal, of others, of yourself, of the very meaning of commitment. But look deeper. Beneath your noble words about loyalty and perseverance lives a trembling child who believes that letting go means ceasing to exist. You hold on not because you are strong, but because you are terrified of the space that will remain when your hands are empty. You grip your possessions, your relationships, your identity like a life raft in an ocean you have forgotten how to swim in. The cruelest truth? Your grip is the very thing creating your suffering. The white knuckles that ache through sleepless nights. The constant anxiety that gnaws at your peace. The desperate negotiations with reality that exhaust your spirit. These are not the price of love. They are the price of fear masquerading as virtue. They taught you that love means never letting go, but they never told you that real love sometimes means having the courage to open your hands. They taught you that strength means holding on, but they never showed you the raw power it takes to trust the unknown. They taught you that wisdom means knowing what to keep, but they never revealed that true wisdom often lies in knowing what to release. The conditioning runs so deep that you mistake your chains for jewelry, your prison for a home, your suffocation for breathing. You have been trained to call your limitations principles, your fear faithfulness, your stagnation stability. Watch how this programming operates in your daily life. You stay in conversations that drain your soul because leaving would be rude. You maintain friendships that no longer nourish you because ending them would be selfish. You pursue goals that feel hollow because changing direction would be giving up. You wear masks that suffocate your authenticity because removing them would be disappointing others. See how they weaponized your goodness against you? They took your natural capacity for love and twisted it into a compulsion to sacrifice yourself. They transformed your instinct for connection into a desperate need to control outcomes. They corrupted your desire to contribute into an obligation to carry what was never yours to bear. This is how they keep you small, not through chains, but through the belief that your chains are wings. Not through force, but through the conviction that your prison is your purpose. They convinced you that your suffering proves your virtue, that your exhaustion demonstrates your dedication, that your emptiness reflects your generosity. But here's what they never wanted you to discover. The very mechanism they used to trap you contains the key to your freedom. The moment you recognize that your attachments are not love, but fear, they begin to lose their power over you. The instant you see that your clinging is not strength but terror, the grip starts to loosen. The ancient rivers understood what you have forgotten. They carved canyons not by forcing their way through stone, but by knowing when to flow around, when to pool, when to change course entirely. The river that insists on one path becomes a stagnant pond. The river that moves with the landscape becomes unstoppable, shapes mountains, feeds oceans. But you have made yourself a dam instead of a river. You have built walls where there should be flow, created resistance where there should be acceptance. You have confused the temporary with the eternal, the vessel with the water itself, the wave with the ocean. What you are truly afraid of losing was never yours to possess. The love you grip so tightly, it belongs to the universe, and you are merely its temporary guardian. The dreams you refuse to release, they are not you, but expressions of you, and when they no longer serve, they become prisons rather than wings. The relationships you strangle with your need, they are not possessions but sacred encounters, meant to transform both souls before moving on. The deepest philosophical truth cuts through your desperate reasoning like lightning through darkness. You are not your attachments. You are not your relationships, your achievements, your possessions, or even your beliefs. You are the awareness that experiences them all, the consciousness that remains when everything else has been stripped away. This awareness, this essential you, cannot be lost because it was never separate from the whole. It cannot be diminished because it is infinite. It cannot die because it was never born. It simply is, has always been, will always be. What you think you are losing when you let go are merely costumes this consciousness has worn, roles it has played, dreams it has dreamed. The fear of letting go is the ego's fear of discovering that it never existed in the first place. The desperate clinging is the false self's attempt to prove its reality by accumulating evidence of its importance. But like a shadow trying to grab its own reflection, the harder it grasps, the more it dissolves. Ancient wisdom speaks of the paradox. To save your life, you must lose it. To find yourself, you must let go of who you think you are. To truly love, you must release your grip on love itself. This is not poetry. This is the fundamental law of existence, as immutable as gravity, as reliable as sunrise. There is another way to love, another way to be. It is the way of the sun, giving its light not from obligation or fear, but from the abundance of its nature. The sun does not cling to yesterday's dawn or tomorrow's sunset. It burns bright in this moment, then allows the earth to turn, trusting that its light will return transformed. This is the new virtue, letting go as an act of supreme love. Not the desperate clinging that suffocates, but the open hand that allows life to breathe. Not the fear-based holding that diminishes, but the spacious releasing that creates room for infinite growth. When you let go from this place, you are not abandoning. You are honoring. You honor the relationship by allowing it to transform rather than forcing it to stagnate in the form that feels safe to your ego. You honor the dream by releasing it to become something greater than your small vision could contain. You honor yourself by choosing the unknown expansion over the known limitation. This, letting go, is not passive resignation, it is active faith. Faith that you are larger than any single attachment. Faith that your love is so vast it need not be contained in any one form. Faith that your essence is so indestructible that it survives the death of every temporary identity you have ever worn. From this fullness you release not because you have nothing left to give, but because you have so much to give that you cannot be contained by any single expression of it. Like a spring that feeds 1,000 streams without ever running, dry you discover that true abundance comes not from accumulating, but from allowing the natural flow. The person who loves from this place becomes dangerous to the world's illusions. They cannot be controlled through fear of loss because they have discovered they are the source, not the recipient. They cannot be manipulated through attachment because they know that what is truly theirs can never be taken, and what can be taken was never truly theirs. This is love without conditions, without negotiations, without the constant anxiety of preservation. This is strength without rigidity, commitment without imprisonment, devotion without possession. This is what it means to love like the Son loves, completely, freely, without expecting anything in return. When you operate from this, understanding letting go becomes as natural as breathing. You exhale the old to make room for the new. You release what has served its purpose to create space for what wants to emerge. You become a master of the sacred art of conscious release. Imagine how different your relationships become when you love from overflow rather than need. Instead of demanding that others fill your emptiness, you meet them from your fullness. Instead of trying to complete yourself through them, you offer your completeness as a gift. Instead of fearing their growth because it might take them away from you, you celebrate their expansion because you know that real love wants the beloved to become their highest self. This is the paradox that transforms everything. The more willing you are to lose someone, the more deeply you can love them. The more ready you are to let a dream die, the more powerfully it can live through you. The more prepared you are to dissolve your identity, the more authentically you can express your true nature. From this place, you become a force of liberation rather than a force of bondage. People feel free in your presence because you are not trying to capture them for your own security. Dreams flourish in your care because you are not suffocating them with your expectations. Life expands around you because you have learned to expand with it rather than resist its natural movement. This new virtue is not something you achieve once and possess forever. It is a moment-by-moment choice to trust the intelligence of existence over the demands of your ego. It is the daily practice of opening your hands when they want to clench, softening your heart when it wants to armor, expanding your love when it wants to contract. But even this new understanding, this beautiful virtue of conscious release, it too must die. Even the identity of one who lets go gracefully becomes another attachment, another role to outgrow. The person who becomes proud of their ability to release has simply found a more sophisticated way to cling. So the soul that would be truly free must learn the deepest letting go of all, the letting go of letting go. It must learn to disappear into the silence that exists before choice, before virtue, before the very need to hold on or release. In this silence, you discover what the mystics knew. There was never anything to lose because there was never anyone to lose it. The you that was so afraid of emptiness, it was itself empty. A temporary constellation of thoughts and feelings mistaking itself for something solid. This is the sacred disappearance. Not death, but return. Return to the silence from which all forms arise and to which they all return. The silence that is not absence, but presence. Pure, infinite, ungraspable presence that needs nothing, lacks nothing, fears nothing. Here, in this stillness, you are neither the one who holds on nor the one who lets go. You are the space in which both holding and releasing dance. You are the awareness that remains untouched by the coming and going of all experiences, all relationships, all dreams, all identities. This silence is not empty. It is pregnant with infinite possibility. It is not dark. It is the source of all light. It is not lonely. It is so complete that the very concept of other dissolves. In this place, the question of what to keep and what to release becomes irrelevant, because you recognize that you are both the keeper and the kept, the releaser and the released. The wise ones throughout history have spoken of this place with reverence and awe. They called it the void, the source, the ground of being. They knew that to touch this silence even once is to be forever changed, to see through the illusion of separation that creates all suffering. From this silence, when you return to the world of form, everything looks different. Relationships become sacred dances rather than desperate clingings. Dreams become expressions of joy rather than measures of worth. Possessions become tools for service rather than shields against fear. You move through life like wind through trees, touching everything, moving everything, but never getting stuck to anything. You love without losing yourself, give without depleting yourself, engage without imprisoning yourself. Now I ask you to make a choice that will change everything. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now, in this moment when the truth is still blazing in your chest like a fire that can illuminate or destroy depending on how you meet it. Write these words in the comments below and let them be your declaration of freedom. I am not what I grasp. I am the space in which all grasping dissolves. But do not make this declaration lightly. These words are not comfort. They are a sword that will cut through every false identity you have built, every story you have told yourself about who you are and what you need. They will leave you naked in the truth of what you actually are. Infinite, uncontainable, free. The path ahead is not easy. There will be moments when your hands ache to grip again, when your heart begs to contract back into the familiar smallness of attachment. In those moments, remember, you are not returning to yourself. You are yourself, returning to the recognition of what was never lost. Your old friends may not understand when you stop feeding their dramas with your desperate energy. Your family may feel threatened when you refuse to play the roles that kept their illusions intact. Society may call you selfish when you prioritize your truth over their comfort. This is not failure. This is the inevitable cost of awakening in a sleeping world. But you will also discover allies you never knew existed, people who recognize the light in your eyes because they have found it in their own. Souls who understand that your letting go is not abandonment but the deepest form of love. Hearts that celebrate your freedom because it gives them permission to find their own. The river that carved the canyon never mourned the stones it left behind. It simply continued, flowing, carving new beauty with each turn, creating paths that had never existed before. You too are that river. You too are that unstoppable force that shapes the world not by clinging, but by moving with such fluid power that even mountains bow to your path. Watch the next video in this series to discover how this letting go transforms, not just your inner world, but your relationships, your work, your entire approach to being human. Learn the practical steps for navigating the chaos that comes when old structures dissolve and new ones have not yet formed. Let go, not because you must, but because you can. Because you are so much vaster than anything you could ever hold, so much more magnificent than any single form your love could take. Because the empty hands are not empty, they are open. Open to receive what you could never imagine. Open to give what you never knew you possessed. Open to the infinite dance of form and formlessness that is your true nature. Return to yourself. You have been away too long, lost in the maze of your own attachments, forgetting that you are not the prisoner but the key, not the seeker but what is sought, not the wave but the ocean itself. The silence is calling you home.